This is my brand new GoPro inside of a case I made that is meant to protect it, because I had to make something that can withstand the massive crushing power of the deep oceans, so I could explore the depths below. The mission? Send my GoPro down deep enough so I can capture some never before seen footage, while protecting my GoPro at all costs. You see, to pull this off, I need to build a case that's stronger than anything I've made before. And I wanted to make it so that anyone can 3D print it on their own and use it to explore the oceans on their own. So it had to fall within a few constraints. For one, it has to be fully 3D printed except for a few everyday items. 2, it has to be able to dive at least 40 meters underwater. And 3, it has to have some easy way of descending to the bottom as well as being easy to pull back up out of the ocean. So, I laid out my tools and immediately got to work. First step, take some precise measurements before hopping on Fusion 360 to start designing this thing. But this wasn't just about designing a case. I was creating a life support system for my GoPro, which, if it worked, will allow me to explore the deep Nordic oceans. So, stick around as I design, prototype, and try to explore the mighty ocean. My idea was to make a case with a small door hinge for the door, and some kind of locking mechanism on the other side so that when I close it, it gets locked in place. And it has to be completely watertight, but we can focus on that later. So, the first thing I did was to go to my local hardware store to pick up these mini door hinges, even though I will only need one, and the spring tension lock. For this first prototype, I was mostly just looking for how the GoPro will even fit, and it did great. Just hadn't really got the placement right for the holes. So, instead of printing 10 prototypes of me just guessing where the holes are supposed to go, I decided to drill in the screws, just to see where they are supposed to be. And the reason I have to add holes is because if not, then the case will split when I drill in it. So, as you might imagine, the final prototype is going to be made way stronger than this. Just like the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay, makes their products. PCBWay is your one-stop shop for high-quality PCB manufacturing, CNC machining, 3D printing, and even sheet metal fabrication. Whether you're building electronics, custom enclosures, or full mechanical assemblies, PCBWay has the precision and durability to bring your ideas to life. And the best part? It's fast and affordable. So, if you need pro-level manufacturing for your next project, check out PCBWay, link is in the description. I am printing these prototypes with some regular PLA, and after the second version I still didn't get the hinges to fit right. And I still didn't have any way to cover this hole where the camera is supposed to see out of. But I fixed that in prototype number 3 by adding this slot where I can place this piece of clear plastic in. And now I also added this slot for the hinge to fit right in. Oh yeah, still didn't work. This is where things really started to get out of control. Sure, all the mechanical parts were finally fitting together, but then it hit me. Making this thing watertight was turning into a nightmare. And wasn't that supposed to be the whole point of this project? The entire goal was to create a case for my new GoPro that could survive the crushing forces of the deep ocean. But now I was staring at a design with a bunch of tiny gaps and weak points. Maybe it was time to just scrap the fancy mechanisms and go back to the basics. Simpler might actually be better, and it might keep my camera from becoming deep sea scrap metal. So, after ditching the hinges, here's the solution I landed on. A simpler design where I can just drop the GoPro right in and screw the door shut. Then, to hopefully make the whole thing watertight, I sealed the window with a generous amount of glue. With that, it was finally time to put it to the test. So, I took it down to the dock with my GoPro Hero 3 in it before risking my other new GoPro. I tied it to a long string and slowly lowered it into the water. Deeper and deeper until it was barely visible. first, everything looked fine. But then, bubbles. And right after that, the footage started glitching. Then, just nothing. When I pulled it back up, the GoPro was soaked, and since the Hero 3, unlike my new GoPro, has holes from the outside that access the insides, it was completely dead. And when I came back home, I found it soaked and totally corroded. The 6th prototype was actually super close. It had everything figured out, except for one little thing, because when I headed back to the dock to test it out, it floated like it completely forgot the whole deep dive part of the mission. So to combat that, I found a short-term solution of taking a big rock and just tying it right on the back of my GoPro case. That's something I'm gonna need to fix in the next prototype. But before I do that, let's send it underwater. As I lowered it down, everything was going great. It went deeper, 10 meters, 20 meters, but this is where things started to take a turn. As I approached the 25-meter mark, something happened. I saw bubbles on the surface not long after. Fearing the worst, I decided to bring it back up. And what do we have here? A crack along the side of the case. This needs to be fixed. So, once again, taking what I learned, I made prototype number 7, but this time I printed it with this silk dual color PLA. And instead of printing it with a weak 2 outer walls, I doubled it and made it with 4 walls on both sides. And to really understand the strength difference, let's put them both to the test. So, it is clear, this new prototype was miles ahead in durability. The extra walls made a huge difference, and for the first time I actually felt confident that this could work. So, with everything ready, there was only one thing left to do. Take it to the dock and test it for one final time. This is it, the moment of truth. Would this be the one to finally survive the crushing depths, or would it meet the same fate as the others? 10 meters, 15 meters, 20 meters. This is the deepest I've ever went. 40 meters. As I'm finally reaching the 50-meter mark, I can finally start to see the bottom. And for the first time, after so many failed attempts, I had finally done it. The GoPro had touched down on the bottom of the ocean. And what made it even better? The footage. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching.